Hello everybody, thank you very much for joining me today for another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today I'm going to be talking about Season 5, Episode 18, Backward Turn Backward, starring Tom Tully, Alan Baxter, and Phyllis Love. And as always, there will be episode spoilers. So I have to say right away, if you like this episode, I apologize in advance because, in my opinion, this episode was a complete mess and easily one of the worst Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes I've ever seen. So this one starts with a neighborhood and a lot of people are gathered around because a murder has taken place. We find out from the sheriff, who I didn't even figure out right away was the sheriff other than by some of the things he said, because he isn't dressed like a sheriff at all. He looks like he's ready for a safari or something. Just one of the many problems in this mess of an episode. So anyway, we find out that this man named Matt was killed with a wrench and the prime suspect's name is Phil Canby. So at this point we get some exposition from a woman named Mrs. Lyons. We find out that this Canby wants to marry the murdered man's daughter, who is way younger than he is. And you can tell this lady and pretty much the whole town doesn't like or approve of this situation. She also says that she heard a baby crying, which contradicts what Canby says, that he says that the baby was asleep, as I guess he was babysitting at the time that this murder took place. This is all very confusing, as we don't know why this is relevant to anything, but maybe it would have been better not to know, because this winds up being directly linked to the episode's twist, which is not good at all, in my opinion. So at this point, the sheriff goes to Canby's house to question him. Canby's daughter is there and having trouble with her young child, but when Canby enters the room, the kid becomes very quiet. So the sheriff questions Canby, who claims he's innocent, when the girl he's supposed to marry, Sue, comes down, and she is very strange. Her behavior is. And as soon as she is questioned by the sheriff, she covers for Canby. And just the way her behavior is, the way she's acting, makes me say that she must be the real killer. That's the twist. This is so predictable. And turns out by the end of the episode, yeah, that's exactly what the twist of this episode is. Also, I have to say, maybe it's just me, but going through these scenes, the evidence doesn't seem to be that great. I mean, a woman heard a baby cry, and this proves Canby wasn't babysitting like he said. Maybe I missed something, but what? Really? And as we'll find out at the end of the episode, that evidence wasn't really valid anyway. I guess you just have to go with it at this point. Then there's another scene with a guy questioning Sue, and I have no idea who he is. He appears out of nowhere with no context given. The scene's totally unnecessary, as his character never comes back. I guess it's just to fill time because the episode was running short, or show us that Sue is still acting a bit strange. Who knows? So eventually there's a funeral for this man, Matt, who was killed. And I'm saying, thank goodness, this episode's getting closer to the end. And then the sheriff goes to arrest Phil, again on not great evidence. But before he can arrest him, Sue flips out, and it turns out that the noises she makes are what Mrs. Lyons heard. But they sound not really that much like a baby, especially if you were hearing them from the distance, and showing what I said earlier, that this evidence wasn't that great. So anyway, this proves that Sue is the killer, which is something I figured out very early on in the episode. In my opinion, this episode is really poor. It presents a moral dilemma that could be interesting, but doesn't really do much with it. Also, the acting is only okay in this episode. It's passable, but certainly not great. To be fair, the actors didn't have much to work with this script, in my opinion. It also feels like some scenes at the beginning have no context, or maybe even out of sequence. I don't know. I'm just shocked at how poorly this episode was done. Because Alfred Hitchcock Presents is usually much higher quality than this. So Backward Turn Backward gets a 1 out of 5 from me. Yeah, I try not to give episodes 1s anymore, but I thought this was really bad. One of the worst episodes I've ever seen, and I definitely don't recommend it. So, as always, let me know if you saw this episode, Backward Turn Backward. Maybe you liked it a little more than I did. Maybe I missed something. Who knows? Or maybe you agree with me that it's really poorly made. As always, thank you very much for your support, and thanks for watching.